the Zodiac Killer, Ted Bundy, the Freeway Killer. What do all three of these infamous serial killers have in common? They all used hitchhiking as a way to find their next victim. So after learning this information, it's probably safe to say that you should never pick up a hitchhiker because chances are it won't end well, right? Apparently that's not what I thought, because a little over a year ago, I was traveling from Joshua Tree, California to Los Angeles because I was at a friend's birthday party. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with that area, it's about a 4 to 5 hour drive, and let me tell you, it is not a scenic one. You see, Joshua Tree is in the middle of the desert, so it's an area with a lot of open land, and hypothetically speaking, it's a great area to hide a body because the odds of someone finding it are very slim. Hypothetically speaking, of course. So anyways, I'm driving back from Joshua Tree and I'm all by myself because all of my friends were staying at that house the whole weekend. But I had to leave a day early because I had a wedding to go to the next day. But it was my friend's birthday and I wanted to spend as much time with him as possible, so I didn't leave the house until about 11 p.m. And since it's a 4-hour drive, I should have been back to Los Angeles around 3 a.m. Now that's super late, obviously. So once I left the house, I didn't expect to see anyone else on the road because you're driving in the middle of nowhere. So it'd be really weird to see anyone that wasn't named Walter White in this area at that time. So I'm driving and my assumption was correct. There was no one on the road. But about an hour into the drive, from probably about 5 miles away, I see a light flashing in the distance. So obviously, I have the same thought that any normal, rational person would have, which is, yep, that's an alien, and I'm 1000% about to get abducted right now. It's over. Okay, that might be far-fetched, but it really wasn't ridiculous to think that because Joshua Tree is not that far from Area 51. You don't think one of those little aliens could have teleported through the wall and escaped? I mean, yeah, they're smart enough to travel to a completely different galaxy, but you think they can't escape Nevada? Okay, enough yapping about alien conspiracy theories. Anyways, as I get closer to this mysterious light, I can see a silhouette of what looks like a human. And then once I'm about half a mile away, and for those of you who aren't American, half a mile is about 300 Queen Elizabeths stacked on top of each other. Hope that helps. But once I'm about half a mile away, I start slowing down because obviously I'm nosy. I want to check out what's going on. Like for anyone that wonders why there's traffic in the world when everyone could just go, it's people like me. I'm the reason why. Because if I see a car crash, I'm slamming my brakes and instigating, looking at it like this. You can't park there. So eventually, I get to a point where I can see that it's clearly a person holding a super strong flashlight. And they saw that I was slowing down, so they start flashing their light towards me as if they were signaling for help. And like I said, I'm nosy, so I roll my window down to see what they're gonna say. But of course, I keep my doors locked, just in case. And the person with the flashlight goes, "Thank you so much for stopping. My car broke down a while ago, but my phone has been dead, so I haven't been able to call my insurance or anyone for help. Can you please help me?" Now listen, I know that I should be smart enough to see that this feels like a trap, but I also have a heart, okay? And if this person was really in trouble and needed help, I was gonna help them. Because also, if you didn't know, the desert gets cold at night. And I mean like freezing cold. So if they had to sit there the whole night without any heat or anything, by the time morning came, let's just say, you would have had to defrost them before putting them in the oven. So I knew I couldn't just leave them there and drive away. My conscience would have felt way too guilty, but I also was still skeptical. So I asked the man how I could help him, and he said if I had a phone, he could use it to call his insurance company. And for a second, I was like, well, what if he's trying to steal my phone? But then after I thought about it, I was like, what is he gonna do? Run off with it? Yeah. Good luck, buddy. We're in the middle of the desert, and I'm pretty sure my car can go faster than you can run. My 2018 Honda Civic is basically a Lamborghini. So I let him borrow my phone, and he thanks me once again. But then he says it's gonna take a minute because he had to look up the number of his insurance company because he didn't know it by heart. So he's using my phone for maybe 3 to 4 minutes without calling anyone. And he kept saying it just wasn't loading because we were in the desert, so the internet was slow. But then finally, he calls someone. And I hear another voice on the other side of the phone. So I trust that this guy is actually talking to someone trying to get help. And after about a minute of talking, he hangs up the phone and gives it back to me. So he says thank you again, and I ask him if he got his problem resolved. But he goes, well, kind of. Since we're so far into the desert and it's so late at night, the insurance company won't be able to get here until morning. Then he says, I know this is asking a lot, but do you think you'd be able to give me a ride to the nearest hotel? And I already know what you guys are gonna say.
Tyler, this is how every single horror movie starts.
And I agree. Trust me, I'm always the one who will watch a horror movie and judge the main character because they'll be like, what's that? Oh, the past 13 people who went into that really creepy house right there mysteriously disappeared? Yeah? Oh, we should go inside it then. Like, I'm not that dumb, I promise. But like I said, I would have felt so guilty if I left that guy out there in the freezing cold for the whole night. And listen, I may be dumb, but I ain't stupid. So I say to the guy, I'm sorry, I'm just not comfortable giving you a ride by myself. How about I call the police and see if one of them could pick you up and take you to a hotel? But the moment I brought up the police, his face looks grim and he goes, no police, please. So now I'm starting to lean to the side of, Oh, okay. You're a Ted Bundy impersonator, aren't you? So now I really don't trust him because of how he responded. But then he goes, sorry, I would just prefer to not have police out here. The plates on my car aren't updated and I really can't afford a ticket right now. I'm already gonna have to pay to get my car repaired, as you can see. Okay. That was a pretty quick cover story, but I still don't trust him. So then I finally ask what exactly is wrong with his car. And he goes, it's been having engine problems for a while now, and I think it finally just broke down. And I don't know anything about cars, so I couldn't help him with that. But my dad does. He's like the Michael Jordan of fixing cars. So I tell the guy I could call my dad and see if he knows what the problem is and how to fix it. Because the guy had tools in his vehicle, he just didn't know how to use them. Which was also another sketchy thing, like, why do you have tools if you don't know how to use them? Perhaps he had them for a different reason. But the guy says that would be great if I could call my dad, so I do. And guess what? My dad was sleeping. I should have been surprised. So we're back to square one now, trying to think of solutions, and keep in mind, this whole time, he keeps begging me for a ride to the hotel. And I keep turning him down, but then finally, we see another car coming our way in the distance. So the guy waves him down like he did to me, and this car also stops. So I was like, you guys must be as nosy as I am, huh? Like, let's be real, we're all nosy. We want to know what's going on. It's the same reason that if you see a guy getting rejected by a girl in public, your reaction is like, oh my gosh, this is so sad. I can't watch this. I can't bear to watch this. Meanwhile, the whole time in your head, you're thinking, can this please keep going because it's so entertaining? That's just how humans are. I really hope that part was relatable, or else I'm gonna sound like a crazy evil person. But anyways, the person who just came asks what the issue is, and the hitchhiker explains it to him and asks if he could give him a ride to the nearest hotel. But the difference between me and the other car that stopped was this car had 4 people in it. So if this guy was actually the next Ted Bundy, he was gonna have to turn into LeBron in the finals to take all of them on. And they were all bigger guys too, so I don't think they were as sketched out or worried as I was that this guy would harm them. So after explaining his story, the people agreed to give him a ride. And I just drove off and got home about 4 hours later. So that's the end, right? The hitchhiker was just a normal guy who genuinely needed a ride with no ulterior motive, right? I wish, but no, that wasn't the case. Because about a week later, I'm watching the news. And no, I don't normally watch the news, okay? My mom was watching it and I just happened to be in the same room as her, okay? We all know that everyone's mom watches the 9 o'clock news. So anyways, my mom has this playing and I'm not really listening to it because I'm on my phone. But then I hear the news anchor say, coming up next, beware of this hitchhiker scam in Joshua Tree. So my ears perk up like Diddy when he hears the word baby oil. And now I'm locked in. And when the news anchor starts talking about it, sure enough, there was an ongoing scam of a person that would pretend to have a broken down vehicle asking for a ride to the nearest hotel. But for the people who did give him a ride, at some point between picking him up and arriving to the hotel, he would pickpocket them. So he stole wallets, jewelry, anything you could think of. I guess there was like 4 different people that went into the police station and had a similar story about this happening to them. So when I saw that, I knew it had to be the guy that I met. But this made me really curious about one thing. Who was the guy he called using my phone? Because there was a voice responding to him on the other side, so I really thought he was talking to someone. And it just happened a week ago, so I still had the phone number in my recent calls. So I decided to call that phone number back to see who they were. Like now, I was trying to solve the case. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought I was Sherlock Holmes or something. So I looked at my recent calls and found the number, and then I called it myself. But when they picked it up, I could hear slight breathing, but they didn't say anything. So I said, hello, is anyone there? And after about 2 seconds of silence, they just hung up without saying a word. So I tried calling back right away, but when I did that, without ringing once this time, it went straight to voicemail. Why did that happen? They blocked my number. So I don't know if this person was Robin and the hitchhiker was Batman or what, but either way, this is why you never act like the people in the horror movies.